First, we check in on the World Economic Forum, for arrogant, socialist, one-world government, hypocritical, globalist elites. Now, this week, scores of uber-rich individuals, they traveled to Davos, Switzerland, in an armada of private jets. In fact, over 1,000 private aircraft, most carrying no more than 2 to 3 people, crowding the airspace over the tiny alpine resort town. And according to Yahoo News, quote, the carbon dioxide emissions from these extra flights is equal to putting roughly 350,000 gasoline-powered cars on the road. And get this, nearly 40% of those jets, they were coming from less than 310 miles away, which is only a couple of hours if they took a car, a bus, or a train. But because there's no airport in Davos, the private jets, they're forced to land about 2 hours away, and then the passengers board helicopters or a fleet of luxury SUV gas-guzzling vehicles for the last leg of their journey. So naturally, the main focus in Davos was climate change and worldwide socialism, and how the little people, the rest of us in the world, specifically middle-class Americans, how we must make greater sacrifices to save our planet from certain annihilation. Now, of course, he made a big hit at this year's event. Al Gore made the trip. And as most of you know by now, Al Gore is certainly close to certifiably insane. He has become more unhinged since we last saw him. You decide. Take a look.
We're still putting 162 million tons into it every single day, and the accumulated amount is now trapping as much extra heat as would be released by 600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every single day on the Earth. That's what's boiling the oceans, creating these atmospheric rivers and the rain bombs, and sucking the moisture out of the land, and creating the droughts, and melting the ice, and raising the sea level, and causing these waves of climate refugees predicted to reach 1 billion in this century. Look at the xenophobia and political authoritarian trends that have come from just a few million refugees. What about 1 billion? We would lose our capacity for self-governance on this world. We have to act. Greta Thunberg was just arrested in Germany. I agree with her efforts to stop that coal mine in Germany. When climate activists around the world, and I'm partly speaking for them right here on this stage, have come to the conclusion that the people in authority are not doing their job. There's a lot of blah, 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 as Greta says. There are a lot of words, and there are some meaningful commitments, but we are still failing badly.
And Al Gore actually claimed renewable energy was the cheapest form of energy. Show us the evidence. And by the way, Germany, now dependent on Vladimir Putin. Hey, Al, how's that working out? There are dark corners of the internet with more believable conspiracy theories than his. This is not Al Gore's first rodeo into bizarre land. Now, he's been making outlandish predictions for many decades. For example, in the year 2000, he promoted a claim that Mount Kilimanjaro would no longer have any snow by 2010. Last time I checked, what year is this? Oh, that's right, 2023. We can report tonight that the mountain is still very much covered in snow. You can see it right there. In 2006, he suggested that all of the glaciers in Glacier National Park would be gone by 2013. Guess what? Those glaciers, they're still right there. In 2007, Al Gore warned of a planetary emergency. The planet has a fever, he declared. In 2009, Gore said 75% of the entire polar ice cap will melt in the next 5 to 7 years. But according to NASA, there were mass gains of the ice sheet in 2015. Make no mistake, Al Gore looks like a lunatic, acts like a lunatic, and he is a lunatic. But he's not alone. You might want to go back to 1975. Remember, Newsweek predicted the coming ice age, the cooling world. In 1989, one UN official told the Associated Press, quote, entire nations could be wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels if the global warming trend is not reversed by the year 2000. In 1996, the New York Times reported, quote, at the most likely rate of rise, some experts are saying most of the beaches on the East Coast of the United States will be gone in 25 years by 2021. Wow, we made it. And in 2006, Time magazine was claiming that the Earth was at a tipping point and that we all should be very worried. every year for the past 40 years has been a dire planetary emergency, according to the climate alarmist cult. And yet they continue to fly their private jets, build their massive waterfront mansions, sail to exotic locations on diesel-powered mega yachts, and eat exotic food and fine wine flown in from all over the world. And Al Gore himself obviously consumes way more than he needs. Now, even Greenpeace, they are perplexed at the over-the-top lifestyles of those attending the WEF. And yet the elite climate alarmists in Davos are now demanding that you give up meat. After all, we're facing a crisis. You must give it up. Take a look.
Food systems account for around 21% of CO2 emissions, and they are unhealthy. And they have a lot of waste, 40%. My daughter, 24, inspired me and said, "Dad, how can you advocate for these zero-carbon value chains if you still eat meat?" And so I stopped eating meat. Now the math would say, well, you need to stop eating meat 11 years to compensate for a flight to Thailand. Yes, but if 1 billion people stop eating meat, I tell you it has a big impact.
So these wealthy elites in their private jets are demanding you stop eating meat, you take the extreme measures, you take on all the pain, you have to drive a Prius, all while they make no sacrifice at all. Maybe they should lead by example and just shut the hell up. It's almost as if they really aren't concerned about climate change at all. Take a look at your screen. Even Al Gore, he enjoys, oh, that's right, we got an exclusive. Al Gore getting off his Gulfstream jet into his SUV, a plane designed for 12, 14, 16 people. There's only 2, and him and his wife get in that gas-guzzling SUV. Think about this. The #1 polluting country on earth, China, has been given a free pass by these global elites, these globalists. They don't mention shutting down China's coal plants or restricting their CO2 output. They're viewed as, oh, that's right, developing nations. India, China, we pay the price for the Paris Climate Accords. They're not going to sacrifice anything. And according to those Paris Accords, they do nothing to rein in China's pollution. If there really is a climate emergency, we're all screwed, and we're paying the price of all of it. But we do have good news tonight. The sky is not falling. The world is not coming to an end. Florida is not sinking into the sea. The climate cult is really only a front for globalism and socialism, where the government uses your money to advance their own radical socialist agenda. Listen to this rare moment of truth from Al Gore. Take a look.
There's a lot of good news as well, and I just want to cover some of it. In my country, we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which is primarily a climate act, $369 billion, which will actually be much larger than that.
Oh, just like the Green New Deal has nothing to do with anything green. It is all one big political con. It is a lie. It is designed to transfer wealth and power from you, we, the people, to a small group of like-minded socialist leftists. And socialism always fails. Obviously, those who show up to a small Swiss town in 1,000 private jets, they don't care about the environment and are in no position to lecture any of us on how we should live our lives or indoctrinate us into their insane socialism that will fail, as socialism always does, or buy into their ever-changing climate alarmism. First, the next ice age is coming, then the earth is going to melt, then when nothing happens, and they say, well, climate change in general, if it rains, if it snows, if it doesn't rain, if it doesn't snow, it's climate change. Everything's climate change. Anyway, make no mistake, those who buy $15 million mansions in Martha's Vineyard aren't concerned about rising sea levels. Democrats like John Kerry, Al Gore, who tell you that we're running out of time to save our planet, they are lying to your face.